Redditors, what's the one book you would recommend everyone read? Matilda by Roald Dahl. An acknowledgement that children live under the tyranny of adulthood, an often violent and terrifying experience, the solution to which requires adults to learn one simple lesson: to be gentle and have compassion. As a bad kid kind of disliked by a lot of my teachers in elementary, this book made me feel so validated. Your Vehicle Owner's Manual. People look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them that I read my car's entire manual when I bought it. Cars are in all likelihood the most complicated and expensive machines you'll ever own. Don't you want to know how to get the most out of them? Also, you are using a machine that could easily ruin or end your life in a matter of seconds as well as someone else's life. This applies even more if you have a wife and children. If you are going to put your family's life on a machine, at least take the time to read the manual. No snark intended. What are some examples of how reading my car manual will save my life? Honestly curious. Completely agree with you. Only ever read mine out of curiosity, and that was pretty recently, having to do with sport mode and traction control. So I'll devil's advocate here. Understanding what traction control is going to do for you in normal, sport, or off mode is probably a good thing to know for safety reasons. My car is / 500 HP, and depending on how that is set, if I get crazy and stomp on it, I could put the car into a wall or something. Generally speaking, it's not like you're gonna run a red light, smash into another vehicle, and right before you do, your life passes before your eyes and you think, fuck, if only I had read my owner's manual. Apostrophe. The Gift of Fear by Gavinder Beccari, recommended all the time. He is a security expert, and he talks about all the most common security and violence risks in today's society, how common they actually are, how to avoid them. It is an invaluable book. Edit. Why are there so many salty guys talking shit about a book they have never read? Sorry, but has a real deal. He has done security for Supreme Court Justice and members of Congress. Designed a program to assess domestic violence threats that was adopted by La County law enforcement after the Odge fiasco. If you are not a criminal, then it shouldn't be threatening to you. Seriously. Stop sending me DMs calling me a misandrist fuck for recommending the book. Y'all are so fucking weird. Get into some counseling. One of my favorite takeaways is not sacrificing safety for politeness. A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson. Hilarious stories intermixed with really interesting history about the Appalachian Trail and what it's like to hike along it. My husband is section hiking the trail, taking it in 150-mile chunks instead of doing a through hike, which is the whole thing in 6 months or so. Bryson absolutely nails it with the culture, the pitfalls, the camaraderie, the hilarity. Good read. Flowers for Algernon. I read Flowers for Algernon when I was pretty young and never really understood it. Reading it when I was older and reading how Charlie's mother abused him really disturbed me. I just fucking realized that the main character is named Charlie, which makes the Always Sunny episode based on this even funnier. Which episodes? I read the book after stopping really watching the show, so the references would have gone way over my head at the time. I think it's called Flowers for Charlie. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. His teachings completely changed my perspective and outlook on life. Me too. I highly recommended people read on Stoicism. You may not like everything, but it would surely help you with some aspects. You have any suggestions of what to read? Obviously Meditations mentioned above. Seneca, Letters to a Stoic, is pretty on point. Today, I'll learn to be my own best friend. Any of the Calvin and Hobbes collections. You mean all of the Calvin and Hobbes collections? Or the complete collection anthology? Watership Down. Also White Fang, the lesser known companion novel to The Call of the Wild. Watership Down is my absolute favorite book. Such incredible storytelling and world building. Rule of the Bone. Could not put down, and no joke, World War Z. The film was trash, but the book was insane. World War Z is incredible. I imagine there must have been so much research going into it. By far, the most memorable stories are that Japanese boy and his dope battle sword and the pilot whose plane crashed in a dead zone. I still think about those interviews sometimes. I think about the Russians fairly often. Decimation. That's rough. I think about the German officer's account often. Of seeing his friend salute him then close his AFV hatch as they retreat across the canal. Knowing there were men volunteering to stay behind and attract hordes to save civilians. The fact that women were holding out their babies to be saved, but they couldn't take them. That account always makes me shudder. I particularly enjoyed the one about the British castles, the royal family and the submarine. Island of the Blue Dolphins Sea Love, D. That book. My sister gave it to me, and before her my mother had it. It was an extremely easy read. I first read it in like 7th grade. But I still read it from time to time. Edit. I didn't realize how many people have read this. And it seems each reply brings back another childhood memory. You shouldn't all be thanking me. I should be thanking you. This day has been made just that much better for me because of you all. I went down the Google rabbit hole about the woman that book is based on one day when she was taken to Europe. She was the last speaker of her language, and she never learned another language. There's a recording on the internet of her singing a song in her native tongue. Joanna Mera died in California or about 2 months after she was rescued. That's why she never learned another language. Her name was also not Joanna Mariah. That's the name that was given to her after she was rescued / decided to leave her island. Her real name and language and people and story will never be known. The book was based on research and speculation, but is nonetheless a beautiful and heartbreaking imagination of a woman's life and survival as the last of her people on the last of her world. All Quiet on the Western Front. Agreed. One of the best war novels imo. House of Leaves. Such an awesomely written and complex story. I've read it 5 times and have had a different interpretation each time. It's one of my all-time favorites. If you like fantasy, I love the Farseer trilogy. Very well written, and the characters are so detailed it feels like they're real people, not just the classic hero / villain tropes. I also recommend the Live Ship Traders trilogy by the same author, Robin Hobb. Honestly, Hobb is just a great writer and shouldn't be missed. Honestly, I have about 1 million book recommendations for sci-fi, fantasy, classic literature and horror stories as they are my favorites. Aha. I read too much. Edit. Mark Zedainalewski is the author of House of Leaves. Yes to House of Leaves. The most unique book I've ever read, and the only book that truly frightened me. Edit. House of Leaves, not House and Leaves. I was rereading it a few months ago. I was reading on a cramped and really warm button started to feel really anxious. So I had to stop and put the book down. It truly gets into your head in a weird way. The Little Prince. Deceptively simple, but has so much meaning that it is the only book to make me cry. It's easy to see that it's about keeping your childhood innocence, but far more integral to the meaning of the novel is the little prince working through an existential crisis and each thing he encounters showing how they fall short of truly living. Truly haunting stuff when you realize we all are just like the strange men the little prince encountered on the way, and truly heartening when we realize we can listen to the fox. Here are some quotes. Things I find particularly important, beginning with a line from the fox. One must observe the proper rites. What is a rite? Asked the little prince. Those also are actions too often neglected, said the fox. They are what make one day different from other days, 1 hour from other hours. There is a rite. For example, among my hunters, every Thursday they dance with the village girls. So Thursday is a wonderful day for me. I can take a walk as far as the vineyards. But if the hunters danced at just any time, every day would be like every other day, and I should never have any vacation at all. So the little prince tamed the fox, and when the hour of his departure drew near, said the fox, I shall cry. It is your own fault, said the little prince. I never wished you any sort of harm, but you wanted me to tame you. Yes, that is so, said the fox. But now you are going to cry, said the little prince. Yes, "That is so," said the fox. "Then it has done you no good at all." "It has done me good," said the fox, "because of the color of the wheat fields." And then he added, "Go and look again at the roses. You will understand now that yours is unique in all the world. Then come back to say goodbye to me, and I will make you a present of a secret." And he went back to meet the fox. "Goodbye," he said. "Goodbye," said the fox. "And now here is my secret. A very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. What is essential is invisible to the eye," the little prince repeated, so that he would be sure to remember. "It is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important. It is the time I have wasted for my rose," said the little prince, so that he would be sure to remember. "Men have forgotten this truth," said the fox, "but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. You are responsible for your rose." "I'm responsible for my rose," the little prince repeated, so that he would be sure to remember. Night by Elie Wiesel really puts the Holocaust in perspective if you don't personally know someone who experienced it firsthand. Reading that in high school was a very sobering experience. Elie Wiesel came to my middle school for a talk when I was in like 6th grade. He only had time for 1 or 2 questions, and I'll never forgive that one kid who asked him his opinion on Call of Duty World at War of all things. I can see why he was done after a couple questions. Building a better world in your backyard. If more people read it, then a lot of global problems wouldn't be problems anymore. I have it on my cart. But is it tips that a working mom of 3 can do, or is it all stuff like buy an electric car? At least half the book is simple things that a working mom of 3 can do. You choose how much is of interest to you. Thanks, I'm not afraid of changing things, and my kids would be 10,000% on board. I just didn't want to waste the money if it's all unattainable for a person like me. Moms like you is what the world needs more of. Teaching our future generations to take care of the planet, the place which is our home. Good Omens, the nice and accurate prophecies of Hans Nutter, which by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I'm only a little less than halfway through, but I'm already in love. Amazon Prime made a TV series about it with David Tennant and Michael Sheen. I actually watched the show after it was recommended to me by a friend. I loved it so much I just had to see if the original book was as good. So far I'm not disappointed. Slaughterhouse-Five. Kurt Vonnegut is the king of dark humor. So it goes. Pooty wheat. Watchmen, it's on the bestseller list for a reason. Edit, it's also on Time's 100 best novellas edit too. First gold. I've had my account for a day. Was not expecting a gold anytime soon. Thank you, kind sir/madam. Along with Watchmen, Morse is another graphic novel everyone interested in literature should read. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Pure classic. Especially useful right now. Don't panic. For instance, on the planet Earth, man had always assumed that he was more intelligent than dolphins because he had achieved so much. The wheel, New York, wars and so on, whilst all the dolphins had ever done was muck about in the water, having a good time. But conversely, the dolphins had always believed that they were far more intelligent than man for precisely the same reasons. So long and thanks for all the fish. The Body, a guide for occupants by Bill Bryson. It delivers an in-depth look at the entire human body and does it in a supremely readable way. You will never look at your body the same way again. Bill's A Short History of Nearly Everything is a classic. His section on why space is called space is both fascinating and terrifying. The Rape of Nanking by Iris Chang. Good for any non-fiction/history book fans. Though as the title implies, it deals with some really heavy stuff. Also, First They Killed My Father by Lung Ung. Same warning. I had to read that in college. Evidently I looked extremely distressed during the discussion because one of my classmates pulled out his phone and started showing me puppy videos. It was such a horrifying event. I read this when I was younger, but no matter what age. Holes, if only, the woodpecker size. The bark on the trees was as soft as the skies as the wolf waits below. Hungry and lonely he cries to the moon. If only, if only, if only, if only. The wolf below cried. That damn woodpecker would drop from his sky. His noise keeps me up, evening to morning. So he cries at the moon. If only, if only, apostrophe. 2 suits, 2 tokens in hand. I got no respect cause I'm the new man. Got my shovel, shoes full of sand. Check out the tag, the name's Caveman Up. This may seem juvenile, but the invention of Hugo Cabret. It does look big, but it's beautiful and well written. The pictures are stunning. It's still one of my favorite books to this day. That's the first novel I ever remember reading, and it still sticks with me today. Truly an amazing book. Animal Farm. Add 1984 to that list. Orwell was practically clairvoyant. Brave New World got it more right. Both should be required reading material. If someone is trying to decide, here's a comparison link. org/wp/wp content/upload/2019/04/AA1984 Brave JPG, and why Brave New World is a lot more scary than 1984. But if you don't read 1984 you have to at least read the book in the book. That and the whole left/right Twix thing kinda turned me off mainstreamed politics. Because if it works for advertising, may well work for ruling. Jurassic Park. Lost World is also super good. One of my favorite series for sure. It's a shame the movie didn't live up to the book like the original did. I barely remember the book. I was super young when I read it. I just remember being pissed about how much they changed the characters for the movie, especially Malcolm's kids, and that they didn't have the camouflage dinosaur in it. For whatever reason, I didn't initially hate the gymnastics dino fighting. Well, I should please you to know that camouflaging dinosaurs are added later in the series. Dune by Frank Herbert. Holy shit, I had to scroll way too far to find this. Upvote to the Oh Human of Fine Culture. Add to the list of Herbert necessary reads. Destination Void. It's pretty awesome and underrated. Like your comment. To Kill a Mockingbird Harper Lee. I love it. It sucks because the sequel was really disappointing. Fun fact but not really. The sequel wasn't actually a sequel. Go Set a Watchman. What people think is a sequel was written before To Kill a Mockingbird. I like to think of it as a separate story. It's all still up for debate whether she wanted that to be released, but that's a different story. The Hobbit. Not sure how I didn't see that mentioned in here yet. Lord of the Rings isn't mentioned either, and it is, in my opinion, better than The Hobbit. I don't really think it's fair to say that one is better than the other. The Hobbit was written as a children/young adult book, so the writing style is far clearer and more whimsical. Of course, Tolkien did a crap ton of world building for just that one novel, and realized that he had enough material for a far more in-depth look at Middle-earth, which is what Lotter is. They are both really different books, which is why I always advise people not to go into the trilogy expecting it to be nearly as easy of a read as The Hobbit is. The Hobbit is the perfect children's story. Catch-22. Major though. People who had hardly noticed his resemblance to Henry Fonda before now never ceased discussing it, and there were even those who hinted sinisterly that Major had been elevated to squadron commander because he resembled Henry Fonda. Captain Black, who had aspired to the position himself, maintained that Major really was Henry Fonda, but was too chicken-shit to admit it. Apostrophe. Oh my goodness. That is perfection. Haha. The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. Also Crime and Punishment. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.